And it has a huge impact on fertility and our air quality indoors and outside. And so they looked at sperm quality for male sperm, and during the inversion with the air pollution, significant difference in the fertility.
Dr. Shippey. She is a leading functional and environmental medicine physician known for her precision-based approach to fertility, detoxification, and female cellular health. Dr. Shippey brings unmatched scientific rigor to uncovering how toxins, mold, accelerate ovarian aging, and can disrupt fertility.
So many people don't realize that they have an overgrowth of yeast. We definitely want to get that down before you get pregnant. And then we see parasites fairly often. That's a driver for inflammation. The body's having to keep them from invading. So when those are elevated, you really want to do the things that you can to heal the gut.
Is there anything else that you think women should know about fertility, preparing for pregnancy?
How important stress is. Find your tool to really help manage your stress, whether it's meditation, breath work, yoga. And then if you've had any trauma, male or female, do the work around the trauma. There's a lot of different ways to handle trauma these days, but making sure that you're good internally on the trauma can welcome the baby soul in a little easier.
All right. Well, I am so excited about today's episode. It is with Dr. Shippey. She is a leading functional and environmental medicine physician known for her precision-based approach to fertility, detoxification, and female cellular health. So excited. With an engineering background, Dr. Shippey brings unmatched scientific rigor to uncovering how toxins, mold, and modern environmental exposures accelerate ovarian aging and can disrupt fertility. Her Austin-based medical practice uses advanced testing, genomics, and targeted detoxification to help women restore mitochondrial function, optimize egg quality, and prepare their bodies for healthy conception. She is the author of Toxic and Environmental Detox and is widely regarded as a pioneer in connecting environmental medicine with women's reproductive longevity. And you have a new book that we will certainly be talking about today, but welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about this conversation.
It's going to be great, and it's the perfect timing, as you kind of mentioned when you came in. I am certainly looking to have kids. It's interesting, and I guess I'll just share a little bit about the story, and the audience can learn about it too. So, Warren and I got married 2 years ago, and
Congratulations.
thank you. We got married super fast. So we met and got married within 4 months. So very fast. Yeah. But
Just when you know, you know.
when you know, right? And so we originally thought we'll probably jump in pretty quick to having kids. But then we were like, well, we got married so quick. Let's have a little bit of time to get to know each other more, build a foundation. And then, I don't know, the longevity industry just blew up, right? I've been doing this stuff for well over a decade. And all of a sudden, there's speaking and events like crazy in this longevity industry. So it's been interesting as a woman. It's you work, I've been working towards this for about 15 years at this point. And I, of course, want a family and very excited to. But also, I've been traveling almost every month when I'm ovulating. So
That makes it challenging.
that makes it challenging. Yeah. So what I think I'm going to do, and then as a side note, so we were living in LA during the LA fires, and I've been doing this Total Toxic Burden by Vibrant Wellness for
Love
6
that
years.
Mhm.
And I've been doing it about 4 times per year. So I have a very clear understanding of my baseline. I went from having no toxins in the high range to having over 35 toxins in the high range. Yeah.
Oh, I'd be so curious to see that, because that's one of the tests that I love to do.
Yeah.
Help people prepare.
Yeah, I definitely want to share my labs with you because,
Yeah.
it's sad, but I always try to think about it in the best possible way. I felt like I was preparing my body for a decade, right? By doing all the right things. And I had the best gut tests. I was doing GI effects at the time, and literally I had zeros across the board and 1, 2 on dysbiosis. It was just great. And then, this toxin thing with the LA fires. And then also I got a breast explant and I had to go on antibiotics a couple rounds. So then it shifted my gut microbiome. So these are all things I'm currently working on. And that's why I'm so excited.
Well, I
about your
love it
work.
because there's whole sections in the book on these things. And it's so many people don't even know that
Yeah.
those are things that can really make a difference with their fertility and the health of the baby.
I'm so excited to get into the health of the baby because, my mom, she's like, Kayla, you need to stop worrying about being perfect before you start trying. And you need to, everybody gets pregnant all the time and they don't even know any of the stuff that you're doing. And yeah, I mean, well, more so probably in my mom's time, that was true, maybe.
Right. But we've got this children's health crisis.
Yeah.
So the 1 in 31 children with autism, the increase in obesity, diabetes, autoimmunity, cancer, all these children's health things. And I think this is where the opportunity lies, is you don't have to be perfect, but to take steps that you know where you are and then make it as good as you can in the time that you want to and money that you want to spend on it. So accolades to you for doing all the testing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm honestly like, I think the silver lining of this is that I'm going through it all publicly and, sharing that I'm working on my gut protocol and my toxin protocol. And I'm just excited to dive into it so that anyone listening, can hear, this is what you do every day. And
especially for people that were in LA during this time, or for people that are exposed to fires other places.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. And even, you could live near something that you have no clue that's exposing you, right?
Yes. Industry, oil are all very problematic.
Yeah. Actually, I was excited about where we are here because the terrain is too rocky to grow a lot of crops. So therefore, there's not a lot of glyphosate spraying.
That's probably a big bonus.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many little nuances that we don't think about. So okay, and then obviously, then we're also going to talk about ovarian aging because I mean, I just am so obsessed with this concept and like, is there any correlation there? Curious, just your thoughts. But yeah, I would love to walk through when a patient comes in. What sort of labs are you doing? Let's say someone wants to get pregnant. And the last thing I'll say is that, I did freeze my eggs. So I froze eggs a couple of years ago because my husband and I would love to have like 5 kids, if God gives us 5 kids, we would be happy with less. But because I knew I was already, I was 32 when we met. Now I just turned 35. And I also knew that my career might require to push that out a little bit. So I do have that as, just for future. But I don't love that we're always just going to IVF, right?
I think it's creating a lot of issues, and it certainly makes sense in your situation where you're not sure what your timeline is going to be to have a backup plan.
Yeah.
And hopefully you won't even need to use them because you'll be so fertile and so healthy that you'll be able to have children well into your mid-40s.
Yeah. I mean, small caveat for anyone listening, but we did make a few embryos, and because of our faith, we'll definitely be using those one way or the other. But yeah, I mean, if there's eggs that we only fertilized half the eggs that I got because I didn't want to actually be in a situation where
I'm gonna have to have 10 kids.
Yeah, literally. So, but yeah, okay. So, I mean, let's get into it. You obviously do this at your practice. Like, what are you seeing in terms of fertility and the issues these days?
So what I really love to do is work with both the husband and the wife to optimize their health. So we, kind of start with the separate conversations that really understand anything in their history, like that might be a risk. So potential jobs or hobbies, things like that might have contributed to environmental toxins that they didn't realize, their family history, and then their lifestyle factors that have led up to this point. Then we have a conversation about, okay, here's the menu. So as you know, there's a lot of different things that people can test. Yeah. And so I want them to understand what the data points are that they can test. So things like looking at toxin loads are high priority because that can have such an effect on the fertility as well as the health of the baby. Yeah. And then nutrient levels, like almost no one, maybe except you.
Yes, I do mine 4 times a year.
Right, because you find things, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, wow, I'm low on magnesium this time, or another mineral, or wait, I thought I was getting all my fatty acids, but I'm not. So I need to shift what I'm eating, right? Or take some additional supplements. So those are 2 super, super important things that I like to check for people. But then we can even do more detailed genetic testing. So there's a company called Intellex that I like that can help me to know in advance for risks for miscarriage, but especially if somebody's had some miscarriages, it can really help us to know one of the things that could be contributing to that and have workarounds. So like if you have an increased tendency to clot, There's a whole bunch of different genetics that can cause that to happen. And when we go into a pregnancy state, that can rev it up a little bit. And so there are some either medications or supplements that can help to reduce that risk if we find that. So a lot of times I think people think about genetics as being deterministic. Oh, I'm going to have this disease or this is going to happen. But it's so helpful sometimes to know more about methylation, about the immune system, about clotting factors, so that we can just help the physiology with either lifestyle things or supplements or changing their diet.
I love that. I mean, what is your opinion on the term or the diagnosis of unexplained fertility?
That means somebody hasn't done enough detective work. Like, there's no such thing in my book as unexplained. There's something going on in the physiology that we should be able to figure out if we pull the right pieces of information together on what's going on with the biology. Our bodies are so smart.
Yeah, they are.
And when they're in balance, we are really meant to have babies well into our 40s. Like, if you look at the 50s and 60s, like my grandparents' times, my grandmother had 9 children, and because, they didn't have access to birth control, right? So they kept having babies until...
Yeah, my grandpa too was like one of 12 or something.
Yes, exactly. So I think when we started having the availability of birth control, even, condoms and things, right? That kind of started to change this fertility picture and our understanding of what was possible.
I love that. Going back to the toxins, so how long can toxins stay in your body?
So those of us, including me, that don't detoxify very well, I have a lot of genetics that predispose me to the toxins building up in my body rather than getting rid of them, which is very ironic for a chemical engineer. So 10 years in the chemical engineering field.
Yeah.
So all the schooling, all the times in manufacturing, and it probably was part of what led to me getting sick, me having infertility when I decided to start trying for a baby around 31. So those of us that don't make glutathione very well, that we don't methylate very well, or have some enzymes that don't operate very well to even start the clearing process, they can be in our bodies for a very long time. So mercury is such a great example. I grew up on tuna fish and had a mouthful of amalgam fillings, and it took a long time to get all the mercury that it had leached into my body out.
Yeah. Would you mind to walk us through? So like some toxins are fat soluble or water soluble, or they're stored in different areas. Some are stored in fat, right? And then some are more easily cleansed. Like BPA, I think excretes quite quickly. Is that true?
Some toxins are really easy to test and understand because we can do a challenge test and see how much comes out. And others, it's a little trickier to even know what's stored away in the body. We can just check either what's in circulation or what's coming out.
Yeah, what's being...
So we've learned so much about toxicity in the last 20 years, but I feel like we're still just at the tip of the iceberg on how much more, especially around the plastics, we need to be able to test. But we're starting to get some data on things like hyperbaric for mold toxins and some other things. Just being in the hyperbaric can really help to release the toxins and help you to get it out better.
Benefit.
Things like the infrared sauna may actually be great for getting some of the plasticizers out. So I think the best way to know is what you're doing, where you're just continually trying new things and then testing to see what's coming.
Yeah, but you make such a great point though, because the test I'm doing is what's being excreted, right? It's a urine test. So I do a big sauna session the day before to try to provoke. I have way in the past done like DSMA, like a provoking agent, but I don't do that anymore. But is there any test that actually looks at what's stored in the body? Because how?
So the things that I definitely know we can do is for heavy metals, we can use a chelating agent called DMPS and one called DMSA. I have people do it about a week apart. And then we collect the urine for about 8 hours and see what comes out. And then for mycotoxins, the toxins that mold makes, I use a high dose of glutathione. So I think each teaspoon's about 500 milligrams, and I have people use 8 teaspoons. So a nice dose, and then it's the same kind of thing, collect their urine for 8 hours. And sometimes the amount of mycotoxins goes way up.
Yeah, because they're actually releasing them from that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't have as good of data on things like the organophosphates and the plastics and that kind of thing. I haven't found a great way to look for stores.
Yeah.
So doing the hyperbaric, doing the sauna, and then collecting the data, I think is probably the best way to assess it right now.
I love that. Well, maybe I'll have to come in and do some of these and we can share the results.
Yes, buddy.
I would love that.
Yeah.
What is the pressure that the HBOT studies are?
It's variable. It's 1.5 can even make a pretty big difference, but definitely going up to 2.0. So I'll usually have people do some sessions of both.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, well, that fits in what I'm already doing. So check mark there. I'm also obsessed with infrared sauna. Actually, so much so, and this is a side note, but I started doing research on infrared saunas because I realized that some saunas are made with these wood glues and like plywoods and varnishes that off gas into the chamber.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah, so we actually just became the owners of I think it's the first and the best non-toxic sauna company. It was started over 35 years ago. I'll show you before you leave our sauna. It's called Heavenly Heat Saunas.
Nice.
Yeah, and so they made the saunas originally for people with chemical sensitivities. That was their entire like niche market. And so they don't use polyurethanes, no wood glues, no varnishes. And then the heaters are actually Faraday caged.
Oh.
So the EMFs are the lowest on the market.
That's great.
Everything in the sauna is glass. So everything from like the chronotherapy on the top, it's normally plastic over it. It's glass. All of the, covers are wood or glass. So it's amazing.
So the first time that I learned about the power of infrared sauna, I was at an environmental health conference just as I was starting my practice 20 years ago, and they had done a study on firemen and were able to show that using the sauna dramatically reduced the flame retardants and all the toxins I think about the firefighters are being exposed. They're some of the at most risk physically and then environmentally.
Yeah.
So they had a mission to try to get infrared saunas in all the fire stations so that, between calls, they could go in sauna and try to get some of the toxins out.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, as I've been doing these years of toxin testing, I've taken some time off of the sauna, and far and away, when I'm doing consistent sauna practice, like 4 to 7 times per week, I have the lowest tox burden. I can keep 0 toxins in the high range. And it might sound like that's an easy thing to do, but even how I'm living, the air purification, the water purification, everything. Still, if I'm not sauning, I will have a few things ping, especially when I was living in LA. I'm excited to see what happens now here, because even before the fires, obviously these big cities are like more congested and more toxic, would you say?
For sure. I think that it's something we all have to be thoughtful about is what about our air quality indoors and outside.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
And it has a huge impact on fertility. I know we're going to get to male fertility, but since we're talking about air quality, there's a study that they did where they, in an area where they had inversion, Salt Lake City. So inversion is where the air pollution gets bad and just sits there for a while.
Yeah.
And so they looked at sperm quality, content, all of the things for male sperm. And during the inversion with the air pollution, significant difference in the fertility.
Wow. And what, for both men and women, like what are the kind of like whole suite? So we talked a little bit about, or actually before we move on to that, how are toxins, impacting fertility?
Yeah, so there's 2 big things. It actually does change how fertile you are, especially in men.
Mm-hmm.
It can affect the sperm quality, so then the fertility. But the thing that's so exciting and that I really enjoyed so much with writing this book is that by having a low tox level, it helps the health of the baby. So the long-term health of the baby is impacted by something called epigenetics. So I think about the sperm and the egg as being a time capsule. With everything going on in the environment, and you would appreciate this so much. So it's the toxins, it's the stress level, it's the exercise, it's the nutrient level, all of the things that are being registered in the body and put into those time capsules. So now we know that time capsule plays out with the health of the placenta, the risk for things like preeclampsia during pregnancy, even the health of the sperm can impact the health of the placenta and whether you get some of the health issues during pregnancy and the health of the baby, including their risks for getting diabetes, the cancers, and even their fertility.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, it's probably going to be hard for some people to hear, but I think it's really important for people to hear, because if you are in a position that you are getting ready to have a try or have a baby or want kids in the future, it's powerful that you have a big impact on, their health. Like, I feel like I really kind of started from behind here. Like, I'm glad that I've lived so healthy for so long. But, I mean, I didn't, well, first, my mom was so young when she had me. She was like 18. So, she wasn't necessarily thinking about the world's healthiest habits then. So, yeah, I mean, I am glad that we have more information now.
So the exciting news is that we can have a pretty big impact in a short period of time.
Yeah. Okay, I love that. What's the time
So
frame?
I think at least 3 months.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have a patient who's 47 that she already had a couple kids, but then met the love of her life, and really they wanted to have a child together. And they came in and they're in a hurry, right? They're like, okay, time. But they had heard about me and was like, okay, we need to go. They got the hit, go see Dr. Shippey. And so they did what I asked. They really cleaned up what they were doing. They ran some tests. We found some toxins. We found issues with the microbiome, some nutrient levels. We really got on it. And within 3 months, they got pregnant on the first try.
Oh my gosh.
At 47, she's only 5 months, right, almost 6 months now. So we don't have a healthy baby yet, but she feels amazing.
I love that.
And everything's going right on track. So I want to take away some of this fear, even in you, like feeling like you're behind, because you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just hard when you are working so hard and you get to the place where okay, everything is perfect, let's say, as close to perfect as it was going to be. And then, but also I also believe, God has a plan for my life. So why that happened, I'm sure there's a reason, right? Maybe I was meant to go out and do all these speaking engagements, because if I was pregnant right now, I wouldn't be doing that, So I think there's reasons for it all. And say one more, how long did it take her to optimize?
3 to 4 months.
Nice.
Yeah, but she did. She implemented all the things. She did all the tests I really wanted her to do, and they both really implemented. So
yeah, I love that. I heard you talking about a few more advanced tests. So Warren has, obviously, when we did the egg freezing, he had all of the morphology and all of that done. Everything looked good. I've also had the whole, I've even had, as far as the bubble, the bubble test, the fallopian tubes are great. I've had all the imaging. Everything is all good. So we should be set. But you had mentioned a couple of interesting, more advanced male markers.
Yes, I'm really excited about a test called Sperm QT, because it ties into that epigenetic optimization that I like to do for the sperm time capsule.
Yeah.
So Sperm QT does the traditional sperm measurements, but then it also gives you an indication of whether your epigenetics are going to be positive for a healthy baby. So what's really fun is to do a baseline Sperm QT and then work for 3 to 4 months and then check it again and see the epigenetics improve, to see the traditional measurements improve as well.
So I love that. But is there something like that for women, or?
No, we're a little harder. So
we get the egg,
I do think that mitochondrial function is close.
Okay.
So there's a company called MeScreen. You've probably seen it.
Yeah, I have. I have another one too. I actually have it sitting in my labs to take, Me Time or Metome. I'll have to show it to you before you leave. But
there's a mito swab also.
Okay.
What would be interesting is to do 2 or 3 of them at the same time, compare the answers.
Yes. Yeah, I would love that. Totally. Let's definitely do that. Tell us obviously mitochondria is so important. And, from what I understand, we have the highest density of mitochondria in our oocytes, right? In our ovaries.
Right. And then the recent study that came out that showed that the DNA of the mitochondria don't age very much in the ovary is really exciting.
I know. Basically, they were saying that men are actually accumulating mitochondrial changes in the sperm starting at age 30.
Yes. We're definitely seeing research that's showing that there might be more of a problem with sperm aging than eggs aging. But I think they're both environmental. I think we can turn things around. I think we can make age a non-issue, and that we should get rid of the advanced maternal age and geriatric pregnancy terms.
I know.
Because
I'm going to be a geriatric pregnancy.
well, no, you're not, because your biological age is going to be like 28-year-old even when you're 48. So I think I just want to, if you're willing to put the effort in to having the healthy lifestyle, to taking care of your mitochondria.
Yes.
And putting all the good stuff into your body for it to work ideally. I don't think we should be using those terms. I don't think we should be scaring women.
I love that. But I will say, I love the idea, like, just live a healthy lifestyle and you don't have to do as much testing. Like, obviously I try to be really clear, but the problem with that is that I feel like in the world that we live in today, you still could have a high toxic burden even if you are living healthy. Do you think that's true?
I find that all the time. I see patients where they think they're doing everything right. They're using an air filter at night. They are drinking filtered water. They are using the careful skincare. They think they're eating organic. They think everything is good, and we find high toxins, and there's something hidden that they didn't know.
Can you give us, what are some of those examples of hidden things?
Well, one of my kids just did his test. My kids are 24 and 28. And the younger one was like, hey, I want to see what my toxins are. We haven't checked that in a while, Mom. So, so we looked at his toxin level, and he had a really high atrazine.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Everything else was pretty good.
Wonder where it's coming from.
So we're figuring that out. But I think he'd started eating some corn chips, like going to Marty's, having corn chips. And I think maybe something with golfing.
Interesting.
So I think the golfers really need to be careful on what they do with their shoes and their bags. If it's all floating around in your trunk and you're touching it and it's getting all over everything, it's going to go through your skin.
Yeah, that's super important.
So we're about to retest him, but I mean, we were shocked at how high it was. And then I see high BPA, the plastics. Again, people are filtering their water and that kind of thing, but then doing takeout.
Yeah, okay.
So I had one person where she was getting organic soup delivered to her for lunch. And in a plastic container. We got rid of that and it went down.
Amazing. What's typically, like a protocol that you put people on? What does that look like?
So I really love things that help people to methylate, because methylation is a really important part of the detoxification pathway for clearing a lot of things, including pesticides and heavy metals. So we want to do the supplements like the methylated folic acid, the B12, the B6, the TMG, all of those methylations. And then I really love liposomal glutathione. I think that works best for actually driving up the glutathione level intracellularly.
Do you have a specific dose that you like to start at or something?
I usually, depending on how sensitive somebody is, it's between 250 and 500 milligrams. And then we might go up as high as 2 grams a day, depending on how they tolerate it. And if I can watch levels, that's great. If not, you can't really go awry with doing 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of glutathione.
Love that. Is there a specific brand that you like?
I love Research Nutritionals. We have one in the Every Baby Well brand, the Ready-Zorb, and I'm really enjoying Glutarel these days. It's the topical, and then there's a couple of other. I like it best in the liquids or the topical, but there are some liposomal capsules that will work for people that don't like the taste and smell.
And it can be a bit harsh, yeah. Okay, amazing.
And then liver support. So like things like milk thistle and other things that support detoxification, and some type of binder. So clays, shilajit, charcoal, pectosol. Good to do a mix of things so that you can grab different toxins and carry it out.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you for sharing that protocol. I mean, honestly, I think people, if you can't afford the test, just like implement some of these things.
And that's what I talk about in the book. So I kind of talk about the test so you can invest in that if you want to. But then here's what you do. Like at least do 3 months of building your nutrients, helping your mitochondria and detoxing.
Yeah. From the mitochondria standpoint, let's say, someone does test their mitochondria or just wants to optimize, what would be some of the interventions that you would recommend?
So this is so important for longevity. Like these are the things that I find really help everyone change their longevity markers as well as recover from really hard things, whether it's cognitive decline to autoimmunity to cancer. Supporting our mitochondria is key. First off is the cell membrane, the mitochondrial membrane, and our cell membrane. So we need phosphatidylcholine. And that's just one of the things that I think most of us are not getting enough of and that you have to supplement it. Then I love combining forms of CoQ10. So the CoQ10 ubiquinol, and then also a supplement called MitoQ, and they actually have some really great ovarian data.
Interesting. I am actually taking MitoQ right now.
Yes.
So
I love your instincts. They're so good. It's an amazing company that they're really interested in women's health. And then things like carnitine in a form where your body can actually use it. NAD is great. You're probably doing NAD also.
Yeah.
And then the B vitamins are great.
I love that. For the phosphatidylcholine, do you have a specific brand that you like?
Yes, and it's under the Every Baby Well brand. It's my favorite. And then the backup one is Body Bio.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, actually, when I did my detox protocol for the fires, I was taking pretty high doses of that. But honestly, is there anything wrong with just continuing to take it?
No.
Yeah, I think I just want to continue.
It's one of my desert island things.
Yeah.
If I was on a desert island and I could only have a few things dropped into me, that would be number one.
Yeah.
Because it's just so important for protecting our brain, our mitochondria, our cells from the environmental toxins that we can only do so much about.
I love that. They have IV phosphatidylcholine too.
We do that in my clinic.
I want to come do that.
I come do that.
Yes, I would love to do that and share because I really want to, I need to take the next few months. Back to the original story, I'm thinking, I get through February. So I have a bunch of speaking commitments, international travel, etc. through February. So now I have now until February to just continue, finish the gut protocol, make sure all the rest of the toxins are cleaned up. They've already been immensely improved. I got a lab maybe a few weeks ago or a month ago, and it's pretty much back in an okay range. There's a couple little stragglers. So yeah, I would love to do that with you.
Okay, awesome. So I think about when we take the phosphatidylcholine orally, that it's giving our body the building blocks. And so we definitely need that.
Yeah.
What the IVs do is sending the cells and the DNA through a car wash. So there's a lab that I used to be able to send to in Germany that we could actually do some epigenetic testing to look what toxins are sitting on the DNA. They're closed right now. Do you ever do that one?
I'm so sad about this. I haven't done it, but do you know who Dr. Chris Davis is?
Yeah.
Okay, the cardiologist.
Yeah.
He was obsessed with this test.
I was obsessed with it.
And everyone is so sad.
So I think we'll have somebody that creates it here in the States. There are a couple of people that have bees in their bonnet about it, but it was so great because I could see, oh gosh, you have mold toxins or you have pesticides sitting on your ApoE4 gene. We better get that off, right? Because this is going to increase your risk for dementia or infertility or whatever. And the IVs, the IV phosphatidylcholine was amazing for getting the DNA cleaned up, the cell membranes cleaned up, the mitochondria working better. It really is something that I wish was more readily available and that most people could do before they try to conceive. But giving your body the building blocks and getting the toxins out is also amazing.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's equally as efficacious to do either, the one phosphatidylcholine is like a liquid, it's very thick, are the pills okay too, or is really?
So what I'll usually have people do, I know the liquid tastes terrible.
Yeah. And it's the texture. I'm usually okay with bad tasting things, but the texture.
So what I do for myself is I get a pretty little bowl, pour my phosphatidylcholine in, and I put some liposomal glutathione, and then some liposomal curcumin, some liposomal CoQ10, sometimes a vitamin C and alpha-lipoic acid. I stir it up and then take it
and just hold the nose and take it
like a shot really fast because I feel like that's just the best way to get it in.
Yeah.
But after people have done a bottle or two of the liquid, if they just can't face the liquid, then the capsules will work great.
Okay, good. Good to know. I love that. Okay, great. Well, we talked about the mitochondrial health, and I'm really excited to get a mitochondrial test. I've been traveling a ton, so I'm wondering how that's going to impact. I want to maybe wait 2 weeks.
I would wait 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just the air travel is kind of hard on you. And the toxin levels, I mean, there's so much that you can't control in the airport. So when I'm traveling, I'll usually do some extra PC and glutathione.
Yeah. I did a bunch of glutathione this morning. I need to do some PC this afternoon. Okay, so we talked about the mitochondria, we talked about toxins. What about gut health and fertility?
Yeah, so gut is so important for both the sperm time capsule and the woman's time capsule, plus, all the birth piece of the microbiome getting passed on. So I really like people to get their microbiome tuned up. It really is fascinating how the man's microbiome can affect for the fertility. So that's less intuitive, I think, for most guys. Like, what? My gut health can actually impact my sperm. But it's that inflammation. So when the microbiome's off, the body has to work harder to try to keep the organisms to behave. And that inflammation then affects the epigenetics of the sperm.
Makes so much sense. What are the main markers that you're looking for, like in a gut test? Is it like the dysbiosis or the leaky gut? What are the main contributors, or is it just all of it?
Yeah, and I'm always trying new sperm or new microbiome tests.
Yeah, what's your favorite one right now?
So depending on what's going on with people, I'll pick different ones. So I'm really enjoying, especially in this preconception period, the Tiny Health.
Okay.
Have you seen theirs? And they have a microbiome vaginal test as well.
Okay.
Yes. So that can be super helpful to get tuned up for fertility as well as for vaginal birth.
Yeah.
So I really like to look at how well are the organisms playing together. So we have the bacteria. We have some bacteria that are normal to have there, but are not normal to have growing. So if we see some bacteria that are kind of having a party, we want to get them back into shape. And then fungus is such a big issue, and I definitely talk about that in the book. So many people don't realize that they have an overgrowth of yeast. We definitely want to get that down before you get pregnant. And then we see parasites and fairly often. So it's also, that's a driver for inflammation. The body's having to keep them from invading. And so we want to get rid of them as well. So then from an inflammation standpoint, there are many tests that are adding new options to look at this, but at least a zonulin and a calprotectin.
Yeah.
So when those are elevated, you really want to do the things that you can to heal the gut.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, great point. What other labs? So we talked about gut testing, we talked about the toxins, maybe mitochondrial testing. What are other tests that you like to have patients do?
So kind of back on the genetic side, there are some recessive genetics that if you have the opportunity to do this, it's a really good idea. So, some genetic disorders are autosomal dominant, which means if you just get luck of the draw, you're going to get it. I don't screen for those because usually you could know about that in the family history. So things like Huntington's disease. But the autosomal recessive ones, like cystic fibrosis, where you have to get a gene from mom and a gene from dad.
I have that actually.
Okay.
But my husband doesn't, thank goodness.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's exactly the case that I'm talking about, because if you didn't know that, you'd have a 25% chance of having a child with cystic fibrosis.
Yeah.
Which might change the conversation about how you go about getting pregnant, or just knowing that you're going to roll the dice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, more information, always the better. I think I got my first genetic test, I don't know, maybe 2015 or something, maybe about 10 years ago, maybe a little more. But yeah, I saw that. And obviously at that time, I was not sure what to make of it, but obviously I don't have it, so I won't be getting it, but it's so important. And I knew that going into it. I'm like, we got to make sure, you're tested. So obviously I'm a big planner.
I love that, because that could have really changed the conversation for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. In terms of diet or nutrition, this is a very controversial topic. I mean, you just hear everything on the internet, right? What would you say is like the best nutritional plan for fertility?
So there's a study that came out for men
Okay.
where they had them eat a highly processed diet for 3 weeks, and the other group to eat a whole foods, hardly processed diet. And then they flipped them. When they were eating the highly processed diet, sperm count went down, sperm quality, their hormones also showed in 3 weeks.
That's unbelievable. I mean, actually, I do believe it, but yeah, that's so fast.
And that you can improve it so quickly by eating freshly cooked foods. So what I see with my patients is that eating lots of vegetables, some fruit, good fats, the good healthy nuts and seeds, and high quality protein is the best thing for fertility.
Yeah.
So when I look back at my story, I was doing a macrobiotic vegan diet around the time that I was trying to get pregnant. And so that could have possibly played a role. I had added a little bit of meat back in around the time that I got pregnant. But as soon as I was pregnant, I started craving eggs.
Yeah.
And I think it was my body saying, you need choline to have a healthy baby. So I know people can have healthy babies on a vegan diet. But they just need to be aware of supplementing with the choline and probably supplementing with the protein.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any truth to this at all, but it just rings a bell in my brain. I saw a photo of apparently a vegan placenta versus a non-vegan placenta. Have you ever seen this image?
I have not seen it, but I can imagine.
Do we think it can really be that starkly different, or are all placentas just different?
All placentas are different. And I do think you can have a healthy placenta being vegetarian or vegan. I think it's easier to have a healthy placenta when you're eating meat.
Yeah. Because it's just a nutrient.
It's basically a blob of blood vessels.
Got it. Yeah, the vegan one was really like light in color, and the meat eater was like, more like red and, but I've been vegan too in my life. I've pretty much tried everything, like vegan, raw vegan, carnivore. I've done all the things, and then I've tracked labs along the way to see what's happened. And now I'm, basically the Mediterranean diet, whole foods, zero processed foods, zero ultra processed foods, bone broth, I guess, is a little bit processed maybe. But yeah, just all real single ingredient foods where you can read the label. And I try to do lots of wild caught. Actually, salmon is such an interesting topic now. I used to always do wild caught. Now I'm doing this company called Seatopia because they test for heavy metals and for microplastics. So it's like they call it aquaponic. Have you heard of this company at all?
I have, but I need to look back at it actually because
Yeah,
I think this is such an important topic for people to be aware of.
Yeah.
Because the heavy metals and their supply is really such a big deal. Like I see a number of people that are almost pescatarian, they're eating a lot of fish and their metal levels are high regardless of what their detox pathways look like. And so if the CDC recommends avoiding fish more than once a week in pregnancy, probably should be saying the same thing pre-pregnancy.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you can find a fish, right?
Unless you can find, so
it's tested.
They really have a very low threshold for what the toxin levels are. It's definitely, and the problem is that we know that fish is so good for
I know
the
omegas.
it's better than taking a supplement from the standpoint of getting the balance of the omegas that grow a healthy baby. So if you can have access to a source that is healthy, that's hands down the best.
Well, what I will say is that I eat a lot of their fish, and I've never had the heavy metals ping high. So
amazing. That's great data.
Yeah. It's the best data I have. But I love that because I love salmon. I love these fish, and it's for me. It's not even the heavy metals, but also they're finding like crazy stuff in wild caught fish. You pay all this money for these wild caught fish, right? And then there's like all the horrible things that are in the ocean, and they're finding like pharmaceuticals sometimes in fish, depending on where they're from. So it's tough.
It's like, to me, when we look at this issue of what's happening to our planet, our water, our food, our soil, and we look at what's happening to our children, with this children's health crisis, it's intricately interwoven. Like we have to be thinking about how to get our bodies healthy and how to get our planet healthy. And the fish is, I think, one of the most depressing news that we have.
Yeah, so sad. What are some of the stats, but red meat in like limited quantities you think is okay?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Like, I think we have to be careful about how we cook it. Like, we want to have it prepared healthfully, not run through a bunch of chemicals and smoked. And like, we want to do low temperature or as close to wild as we can.
Yeah.
And just be mindful about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And even like getting high quality, plants and like fruits and vegetables is so difficult these days because you buy organic, but I don't know.
I agree.
What's your solve for that?
Well, I kind of mix it up a bit. I mostly shop at Whole Foods, but then as time permits, get to the farmer's market. And
the farmer's markets here are not that good.
Yeah, it's a California. No, it's a problem. I've done the delivery kinds of things where they just deliver what's fresh. And
Did
then
you gather and deliver?
It was a few years ago and they don't exist anymore. But for people that are listening that have access to that, I think that's really the best thing. Know your local farmers and eat what's seasonal. And in Austin, Texas, it's
not much is going on. Just going on. Yeah, I definitely try. I found a company out here called Gather and Deliver, and they do like local eggs. They even have the different vegetables and stuff. It's very random though what you get, but I do try to get as much as that as I can.
Try it out. Thanks.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, there were some really good ones in California. Like I used to get Flamingo Estates, and it was just like beautiful and so good, and it was like biodynamic. It was great, but
I know people that just they start growing things on their own, just to at least have something fresh. I have kind of a black thumb.
Yeah.
I haven't tried that. Wait, I have one plant that's actually living right now. But I think if you can do your own garden, that's even better. But it takes a lot of time and effort. And it's hard to grow things here. Like
it's so hot.
Hot. The bugs, the rabbits, the
deer. Yeah, I know. Well, I want to grow something back there, but we are going to have to like enclose it completely because so many deer.
Do a greenhouse, probably. Yeah.
It's a work in progress. Okay, so we talked about nutrition. We talked about cellular health. Anything like any other, recommendations that you have? I mean, exercise, like the protocol. What would you say for exercise?
Again, back to men. Yeah. Sperm health improves when they build muscle.
Love that.
So I know most of your audience is women, but have your husbands.
Your husbands are also responsible for doing this,
So their lifestyle things are so important. So I think for women too, there is a sweet spot with the exercise. Over exercising, you're going to send some of your hormones over to your cortisol pathway and not enough into the estrogen, progesterone, testosterone pathway. So definitely finding that balance for exercise for you is super, super important. And it's kind of hard to measure. So you're going to have to follow your intuition on it.
Yeah. And you think strength training is good, of course, for women too.
Absolutely. And I think that's another one of our longevity conversations. And to kind of protect that around your pregnancy period as well as postpartum. Like that movement is so good for your body to bounce back from pregnancy as well. So strength training, whatever you like for the interval or aerobic training. I think the main thing is doing what you really enjoy.
Yeah.
And if it's a grind, then it's hard. And then even things like yoga and Pilates, I think are amazing for preparing for pregnancy. One of the things I included in the book is the pelvic floor work that can be so important to make sure your pelvic floor is healthy. I had a physical therapist write up the exercises she does with patients preconception as well as during pregnancy. So getting that pelvic floor healthy, and that's all building the strength and muscles to be able to hold the baby.
I love that. That's actually an area I need to make sure I'm on top of. Can you give us a few examples of what like a pelvic floor exercise would look like?
Yeah. So learning how to actually do a Kegel.
Okay.
And then there's pelvic tilts,
Mm-hmm.
and then bridges.
Okay.
It's probably some things that you might do already, but then just having some awareness around what is happening with the pelvis. So the pelvis is like a basket, and anytime we move, it contracts up and down. And so it helps you to be aware of what's actually happening there and make sure that all those muscles are firing. Because if you've had falls or injuries, even strains that can happen from running and that kind of thing, and it can affect how those muscles are firing in your pelvis. So if you have access to a pelvic floor therapist to get an evaluation beforehand, it's a really, really helpful tool. So I can connect you with a couple people here in Austin. Yeah.
To go back to NAD for a second, so I've done every form of NAD possible. The IV therapies, I actually test my NAD and NADH levels.
Which lab to use for that?
I'll show you before.
Okay,
before you
because I used to use the Germany lab for that.
Oh, really? Yeah, yeah. I have a couple tests that I'm going to be doing.
Awesome.
So I test that. I've done injectables. I now like have landed on the supplements. And I think because now there's microplastic in the IV bags and there's all this other stuff potentially, right? So what is your thought on like the best way to get NAD? Is it the precursors, the NAD directly?
Yeah, a combination. And I think, that's an area where we don't have clear genetics, but I do just based on what I see with patients, I think some patients, their mitochondria bounce back with the precursors great, or sometimes it actually takes doing the IVs. And I haven't seen a problem with the microplastics with the IV bags that we use.
Okay, good.
We try to use the highest quality bags that we can because I see such a difference with the IV NAD for some patients.
Yeah.
Especially for patients that are going through mold toxicity or mast cell activations and, some things that are pretty hard to deal with. And then I think it's a great thing for people that can do for that little mitochondrial boost before they start trying.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about the new NRIVs?
I have not tried them yet.
Yeah.
I have this form of NAD IVs that I've had such great success with. I just said I haven't tried it yet, but I probably should. I mean, I'm so happy with this particular supplier.
I'll have to come get one with you.
Yeah. So, it's not the least expensive. It's probably one of the more expensive suppliers for it, but I just stick with it because of the long-term benefits that I see. And so, but sometimes patients will go get them other places because it's convenient. We're not open on Fridays. Yeah. Expensive it. And they always come back and they're like, oh, this was worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I totally know. I used to have the same mindset, right? I'm just putting everything that we offered at my clinic in my body. And I'm like, yes, we will be getting the most expensive one because
the highest quality. If we're going to go,
if
you're going to put an IV in, you want to make sure it's worth it.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. I've tried a few of the NRIVs. I do like that I don't have many symptoms with NAD IVs anyway, but obviously some people really do, takes 4 or 5 hours to do one. But the NRIVs, there's no symptoms and it runs over 20 minutes. The only symptom that occurs is a little bit of jaw tightness, but that's it. No gastrointestinal symptoms, no chest feeling.
Did you
nothing
find that it was as helpful?
I didn't do a test right after, so I will next time.
Do our little mini experiment.
Yeah, we need to do that test. But I felt good, but I pretty much always feel good. So it's kind of hard sometimes when you're really leaning into the basics and doing all the things to pull out did that one IV. Yeah, really. So yeah. Okay, we talked about NAD. I want to talk about ovarian aging a little bit. Well, first, is there anything else that you think women should know about fertility, preparing for pregnancy, how your health impact?
Yeah, one of the things that I really cover in the book is how important stress is.
Yeah.
So find your tool to really help manage your stress, whether it's meditation, breath work, yoga. I love vagus nerve stimulators to really help shift out of the sympathetic nervous state, and neurofeedback I think is phenomenal. And then if you've had any trauma, male or female, um, do the work around the trauma, because that can, there's a lot of different ways to handle trauma these days, but making sure that you're good internally on the trauma can welcome the baby soul in a little easier.
Do you have any favorite or like trauma modalities that you see work best?
Yeah, my friend Amy Epigenetics just came out with a new book on trauma, and she's got some interesting ideas on it. I actually love neurofeedback with the trauma work, but then EMDR can also be great.
Okay, great. Well, we'll make sure to link those in the show notes if you have any specific recommendations.
Awesome.
So I want to move on to ovarian aging and like longevity, because, I've interviewed Dr. Jennifer Garrison on this topic, who that's what her work is. And we just still don't know a lot in 2025. And it's crazy to me that we don't. So I sometimes like to just use first principles thinking and, why do you think that the ovaries age at nearly double the speed of every other organ?
I'm not convinced that they do.
Okay, well, I love that. Thank goodness.
I think it's back to this environmental conversation.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think that they do, because what I see with my patients is that they can get so healthy into their mid-40s that they're super fertile. Like, they're more fertile sometimes than they were in their 20s. Like, I've had so many patients. I try to remember to tell people when they come to work on these things that they need to use birth control if they're not already. Like, they need to become, that they need to, that they, as they're doing the work with me, they might get more fertile. And I've had multiple couples where I'm like, okay, give me 3 months, use condoms. And then they use the pull-out method that's worked for them for 10 years. And they, even in their mid-30s, late 30s, and get pregnant.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
So I do think that we have the situation where our ovaries are being impacted by poor nutrition and increased environmental toxicity and high stress and all these lifestyle factors. But I actually I believe in, there's a spiritual side of me that I think that there's so many protective mechanisms there also, and that I just think our bodies are wiser than that. So I actually think infertility is the body just putting on the brakes. Like, here's the check engine light. Like, go figure out what's going on with your body and get it back into balance, and then the check engine light will go off, and people will be fertile. And I feel like my profession is doing a bit of disservice by just encouraging and talking women and couples into doing IVF, rather than figuring out how to get their environment and their bodies healthy again. Because I mean, we're just born to procreate. We're born to have babies.
Yeah.
And I just see that even when people have had pretty significant run-ins with fertility, that it's often reversible, like failed IVFs.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, the body is so smart, right? It's not going to allow you to have a baby, most likely, if you're not in a position to do so. Although there are outliers, right? Because I think about you see sometimes on a crazy show or something, or where, it's a drug addict that is pregnant somehow, but also doing heroin at the same time. So
yeah,
what's going on there?
That's why I wrote this book, is because there's this whole spectrum of couples that don't realize that they're driving down the highway at 70 miles an hour about to run into crosswise traffic. I think the body a lot of times will say no for a good reason, but sometimes that the drive to procreate is stronger than it should be even. So I feel like we need to be, everyone that's thinking about having a family needs to pause or growing their families, because you saw how quickly things can change, right? With exposure to a fire or some unknown toxin.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to pause
Yeah.
and do a protocol for 3, 6, 12 months and really get their bodies tuned up. And I really do think that this will help to slow down the incidence of autism, the mental health, the diabetes, the autoimmunity, because I think that the baby's health starts before conception.
That's so important. Because I mean, I definitely was thinking the lifestyle after the baby has been born, right, has changed so much. But they've done studies now and found the toxins like in the umbilical cords, right?
So the landmark study was 20 years ago. They looked at
Oh, wow.
over 400 toxins. On average, there were over 250 toxins in the cord blood out of just the 400 that they tested. So we've seen a dramatic decline in children's health in the last 20 years, and that study has not been repeated.
Well, I mean, this book is going to be like a must read for, honestly, I think everybody. So we'll certainly link it in the show notes. It's called The Preconception Revolution. I love the title. And yeah, is there anything else that you think women should know before we wrap up this episode?
I want it to be one of hope. Like I am sounding the alarm. Like we need to pay attention to this period for both the men and the women. But what I see is beautiful, healthy babies into the mid-40s when we do this work. And so I see so many people, like whether I'm sitting on an airplane or friends of friends, or where they're so afraid about their fertility and about the health of their future child. And I really want people to know it's in their hands. They have so much more control than they think, and a little bit of effort can go such a long ways.
Well, I love that. And I love that you're in Austin. So now we can do some stuff together.
Yay!
I'm so excited. And where can people find you?
So the book is The Preconception Revolution. So thepreconceptionrevolution.com. My fertility and healthy baby effort is everybabywell.com. And then I've been putting out content for about 20 years on all kinds of environmental toxin, all that kind of thing on and Shippy MD.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Such a pleasure.